It's going down in my neighborhood, yeah, the neighborhood. Do you care if your neighbor good? Is your neighbor good?
Education is elevation, man. Today is not a good day in any neighborhood at all. We have a Nolan Wells case update, as well as Greg Abbott, Texas Governor Greg Abbott, gaslighting black community, keeping our names in his mouth, trying to capitulate towards James Tallarico specifically, you know, talking about what the black community like. I'm gonna get into that. First up, we're gonna start with this Nolan Wells case, man. Right now, I think the black community is still going through a collective mourning from the Bolton case that happened in South Carolina to the 1-year-old or 2-year-old that was, you know, murdered in or at a Walmart in Mississippi, to the Carmelo Anthony case, to, you know, I think just a whole bunch of shout out to you, V36 Blade, man, from Mississippi. I think that we are experiencing a collective heavy-hearted, you know what I mean, community mourning, and we seeing before our eyes that before we can even really fully process and heal from one case, it jumps to another case. I'm finna show us a nice little clip from attorney Ben Crump's page. He's the attorney of Nolan Wells. For y'all that don't know, today we got us an update that should telling us that the Nolan Wells case, the Nolan Wells autopsy was incomplete because they failed to send body parts, specifically the throat structure and different in other, you know, organs. Right now, the state of Mississippi is showing they don't give a damn about who is watching them and how they watching them. They showing they don't care if it's 1926 or 2026. They're going to do whatever they want to do to black bodies that they choose and please. And can't nobody in this country tell them how to treat their niggas. What I also want to point out before I show this clip is that there are a lot of individuals that are playing into black criminality, as well as the adultifying of Nolan Wells, a 17-year-old child. And we see people playing with the descriptions, and we're seeing how children in our community become adults, you know, adultified by headlines.
Dr. Roger Mitchell said that the focal area of red discoloration in the soft tissue of the back of the head, the occipital region, is significant because he cannot determine why you have that red discoloration in the back of his brain. That's significant. He also talked about, Mr. Williams, if you can, just the fact that as it's common practice, he was missing his throat when they received the body. And he wants to know why they held it back. He's not drawing any conclusions, but he said he would want to examine it if there were neck fractures or compressions to the neck. And he thinks that's significant to know at autopsy. The reason he said he would hold it back when he was medical examiner because he thought that there may have been some issues with neck fractures. The last thing that is significant is what we said before about him, the condition of his body when he went into the water. Was he conscious or unconscious? Was he forced or unforced into the water? He said those things are very significant. But he started off talking about this red discoloration in the back of his head is something that was of great concern to him. Dr. Roger Mitchell said.
So what we see from that is that there is already some nefarious actions happening. I would say even a conflict of interest. To me, it's obvious that one of those boys who allegedly did something to Nolan Wells obviously has some family member that's high up. And that's the reason why we see the Mississippi officials who are literally contributing to covering up something. Think about it. The entire country, and in some instances, many parts of the world, is taking the case with this Nolan Wells. It's really taking attention into this Nolan Wells case. And though we have all this attention that's happening on Nolan Wells, we still have Mississippi officials who decide to send the body to an independent investigation that has body parts missing. Now, for everybody that's watching that don't understand, remember the initial narrative we were sold is that Nolan Wells did not make it to did not make it from the island because he drowned. Remember, we were initially told that the only thing that returned was his cell phone. Then we learned how his parents got that cell phone, and we seen that he had to go through a whole bunch of different apps in order to get that. So now we see that in 2026, the state of Mississippi is still conducting themselves with a disregard towards black bodies as if they are the judge, the adjudicator, and it doesn't matter about equal protection under law. We're seeing that the equal protection under law does not matter in this instance, but we're seeing that the family of Nolan Wells is continuing to have to figure out ways to beg and plead to get justice for their son. I'm just like, said that no, Mitchell Victor, they said that there were parts of his throat that was missing. Said there were parts of his throat that was missing as well as other organs. And saying that the independent autopsy could not be concluded because of these missing pieces of his anatomy. So we want to just make sure that that's what they actually did say, and want to make sure that we are reporting accurately. I think there's also something to be unpackaged about this, because right now, the same state in Mississippi that was able to delay justice when it came to the Brown versus Board of Education, that took years and years and years to enforce, they were able to overnight enforce the Louisiana Calais and making sure that the political power of black people be re-divvied up and divided. Now, the same Mississippi that took a long time to give us justice when it came to Brown versus Board of Education, the same Mississippi that was able to overnight change their maps, now the same Mississippi that's delaying justice when it comes to the family of Nolan Wells. For me, in this case, I'm a bit triggered. And I'm going to say I'm a bit triggered specifically because I'm remembering the Kendrick Johnson case and how when we got that independent autopsy for him, we found that his organs was missing. In this country, we always talk about letting the kids be kids, let the kids be kids. And we see time after time after time again that black children are not afforded this. When Curtis Bolton, or what's his name, when Rick Chow was found not guilty for the murdering of a 17-year-old black child, 16-year-old black child, because self-defense, we seen like, oh, okay, self-defense, but it's South Carolina. And then in Texas, we seen Carmelo Anthony get found guilty for doing the exact same thing. Oh, no, for having a much rational, applicable narrative or situation. They said that he feared for his life because 5 big white boys came after him, and that he responded with quick, you know what I'm saying, in a hurry, and being able to, you know, defend himself. Now, should he have maybe gotten voluntary manslaughter? Yeah, maybe. But saying murder is not. No, it's just crazy. What are you doing, man? The charge is not in here, brother. It's not in here. Sorry, my child is in here as I stream. I'm here talking about a charger. I've been trying to set up in here, y'all, and go live for over an hour. She ain't came in here at all. As soon as I click live, I'm here talking about a charger, man. But I'm gonna love on my children, because right now we're having a conversation about how the family of Nolan Wells does not have the opportunity to fuss at their child about coming in them, or say something to their child about coming in there, you know what I'm saying, and bothering them while they're doing something. So, you know, if you're a parent watching this or you're a parent listening to this, I definitely, you know what I mean, encourage you to hug your child that's a little bit tighter tonight, because you know that the way that this world treats and teaches our black children is that their childhood is something that can always already be negotiated. And if it suits any political agenda, they will strip the innocence of your child within within a split second and treat them as adults. You see what I'm saying? And I think that that's something that we all are collectively sitting with, and it's something that we all kind of gasped and caught our breath and held our breath when we seen the picture of Nolan Wells with those white boys, and when we heard what happened when they said that he did not return. Now we know that all the twitches and turns from this case has shown us that it's going to require every single one of us with a phone, every single one of us with any type of social media or following, whether you have a 1 follower, 2 followers, 1 million followers, 2 million followers, is giving us the Ahmaud Arbery case. We know that Ahmaud Arbery, when it first happened, the local courts ruled that the men that hunted him down like an animal were justified in doing what they did. It took all of us on social media and throughout the country to say we demand justice for Ahmaud Arbery, and that's how we were able to get those individuals tried and convicted. And we see now the state of Mississippi is doing the same thing. Also, I think there's a conversation to be had. Y'all can let me know in the comment section. When the Curtis Bolton Rick Child case happened in South Carolina, and this man chased this child, or I think he chased this child. I think he chased, you know what I'm saying, Mr. Bolton. I don't think that it was I think that his son did it, not him. But we seen, you know, that the same law that will justify the murdering of a black child, or the same law that'll justify a black child trying to defend themselves and not being able to do what they need to do. Say, hey, Mitchell Victor, I think right now you in these comments, you're being purposely obtuse. And I think that you probably used to being in a room full of dumbasses, so you can purposely try to manipulate and try to presume things. Now, if I've clearly and explicitly told you that in an autopsy, there was an autopsy that was done, and when the autopsy, the independent one tried to be done, that there were missing organs, why are you still in my comments pushing this nonsense? Do you want some attention? What are you talking about? Y'all making like somebody snatched his throat out when there's no evidence that Stacey is trying to say. That was never stated at all. As a matter of fact, I played a clip from his attorney reporting to you what the independent autopsy had reported. How are you in the comments still figuring out a way to be misinterpreting and to be? Come on, man. We ain't got time for that, man. We ain't got time for that right now. I'm trying to use my platform to keep the people aware of what happened in this update, as well as trying to make sure that Nolan Wells' name is not forgotten within these 24-hour, 48-hour time spans of us always doom scrolling on the timeline. Right now, I'm trying to do my due diligence and using my platform to try to amplify, and as well as trying to zoom in the way the state of Mississippi is showing us and illustrating they have a disregard for black life as well as black children. Right now, I'm trying to also use my platform to illustrate and connect the dots to show at the same time that black people are trying to fight for political survival, what happened to constantly mourn children in our community being taken away. That's what I'm trying to do. You see what I'm saying? That's what I'm trying to do. And what I'm gonna recognize right now is y'all on Facebook particularly have different ways of trying to bullshit in the comment section and trying to, you know, get the conversation to be derailed. But, you know, right now I'll put my educator hat on and understand when we have people in the classroom that are trying to be a distraction for individuals that's trying to be of the learning process. And right now, we see that the state of Mississippi has officials that don't give a damn about how many people watching them and how we're watching them. You see what I'm saying? We're seeing that just the way that a bunch of other southern states during civil rights movement, and then, you know what I'm saying, the Reconstruction era will have all of the country trying to figure out what's happening with a particular case, and they will still show a disregard for the law. That's what we have to do with it. You know what I'm saying? That's what we have going on right now. And what we see is that, you know, with the Curtis Bolton case, the point I was about to go with this is that there was a bunch of conversations about the relationship between Asian Americans and Black Americans, understanding that the Asian American is a diaspora, understanding that all Asians are not Chinese and all Asians are not Japanese, or all Asians are not, you know what I'm saying, Korean, and understanding that the Rich Child case was a particular type of Asian, but understanding that it's still proliferated dialogue around Black and Asian relations. Nolan Wells is biracial, half Black, half Asian. The fact that I'm not seeing as many viral videos of different Asian people coming into, you know what I'm saying, to coming into bat or feeling like they were also, you know what I'm saying, I won't say this. The fact that I haven't seen as much Black Asian dialogue around the Nolan Wells case to me speaks volumes, as well as shows you how there are a bunch of anti-Blackness within different communities, specifically the Asian community, and how they're like is there not a identifying with the suffering with the family of Nolan Wells? You feel me? Now I want to make sure I'm centering white supremacy and that I'm just not swinging below with the Asian community, but I do think it is weird that I'm seeing like I'm always hearing crickets. Now y'all can let me know in the comment section if y'all have seen any dialogue from this community talking about what happened with Nolan Wells, but I do find it a bit weird. You see what I'm saying? I find it a bit weird that, you know, it is particularly the Black community that is taking into, you know, attention with this case and trying to figure out what's going on. With that being said, I also think it's a bunch to unwrap when it comes to Nancy Grace taking attention into this case. Now, I know that Nancy Grace has always had a little soft spot, or Black people have always had a soft spot for Nancy Grace because we like how, you know what I'm saying, how different people get messy with different things, you know what I'm saying? I never understood Black people's, you know, appeal to Wendy Williams. I never understood people, you know what I'm saying, appeal to Nancy Grace, but hey, that ain't my business. What I will say is that just like we are critical of content creators and how they use Black pain and suffering to get clicks and views, we have to also have that same type of energy when it comes to people like Nancy Grace. Now, do I think that there is some good and that there's some positive intentions behind how she's covering it? Sure. But I also think that we can be critical, you know what I'm saying, how this particular case, you know what I'm saying, is being jumped on and being covered now based off of how much it's being sensationalized on our timelines and how much it's been sensationalized throughout the headlines. You see what I'm saying? Just like, you know, hey, I'm glad. I'm shout out to you, man. See, white people really be out here acting as if white supremacy and classism doesn't exist down here. True. I think right now, when we start talking about systemic racism, and we're usually here with the rhetorical, are you saying that Black people and white people go by two different legal books? We're seeing right now what's happening in Mississippi. The fact that it was initially being covered that it was about a drowning and that there was no foul play, and now we see that more evidence is coming out. We're starting to see how it changed. Man. Say the white Black racial aspect of Wells tragedy is taking forefront more than anything right now. You know what? The waste of talent. I agree with that. I agree with that. You know, and I think that the white Black binary sometimes can be so hegemonic in how it takes up dialogue. It makes it where we can't understand or get into the other nuances. So I will say that we can't contextualize how the white Black racial aspect of the Nolan Wells case is dominating the conversation and making it where we're not thinking about his, you know, multi-racial identity. But it also shows that a lot of times when we start talking about the concept of being biracial in our community, especially now in 2026, that I think that there is a lot of discursive violence that happen, and I think there's a lot of intellectual dishonesty, because usually we start talking about people like, now if a person is biracial, they ain't Black, they are this and they that. We see when it comes to the Nolan Wells case, us talking about his mom being Asian is not being able to make it immune from the anti-Black violence that he's, you know what I'm saying, he's facing. We understand when it comes to how the media is talking about this and headlines and how they doing word choice, we understand that him being part Asian is not being able to convolute his Blackness and how his Blackness is taking center stage. You see what I'm saying? So I think that us as a community, when we start talking about, well, biracial mean you ain't Black and this, that, and the other, I think that we have to really take into account how we deploy that particular analysis and when we deploy it. You know what I mean? Because when it comes time for us to talk about how Nolan Wells is being brutalized and how the state of Mississippi is treating him, you know what I'm saying? Hey, we see that his Blackness is what justifying the way that they are literally dehumanizing him, the way that they are halting justice, the way that they are slowing up the policy making process and making sure we see what's going on. You know what I'm saying? So we see that. So, shout out to the people that's listening to this on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Right now, we have us a troll in the comment section from Facebook, particularly. Shout out to Michael Victor. This is gonna be my last comment response to you. I'm gonna try to turn this into a teachable moment. Then I will be, you will be losing your classroom privileges, and I will be revoking them, and you're gonna be just moving out the way. You know what I'm saying? Michael Victor says spreading false information, and it's crazy when y'all gotta do this to look at reports. Y'all can let this man race bait y'all what y'all want, gang. I've been off. And to me, it just shows that a lot of people don't have the ability to think for themselves, and all they can do is parrot a bunch of shit that white supremacists have taught them. That's the reason why he's talking about the concept of race baiting on a case that is obviously racially, you know what I'm saying, emboldened. It is racially fueled. The kind like the case itself. You see what I'm saying? It's like it's already structured by racism. In the way that race is playing injustice, in the way we think about criminality and accountability, how it's already racially charged. We're also seeing that when it comes to letting the kids be kids, that the legal structure will always figure out a space in place to make justification for white kids doing dehumanizing things and making sure their life isn't messed up based off of some decision they made when they were a kid. We know on the flip side, when it comes statistically, how children, black children, are overrepresented and being charged as adults. We see that we're not afforded the same way. So when we see the odd concept of letting kids be kids, we understand, especially when it comes to being a victim, they don't care about that. You see what I'm saying? We will figure out ways to criminalize black children even in death. And now we see even when we are trying to be the survival and defend our lives, we still figure out a way to criminalize them, and that's on Carmelo Anthony. So when I think about all the various policies that's been justifiably passed in this country, specifically when it comes to protecting kids, and how a state like Mississippi has been able to position itself as being the entity that ensures safety for children when it comes to drag queens and trans folks and gay people, is like the same states that can disregard child safety when it comes to Nolan Wells. To me, it blows my mind. Not only does it blow my mind, it also shows that white kids are afforded a level of innocence that black children can dream of. We see whether you are a black child in Texas, Mississippi, Alabama, or Oakland, California, we see that there is something about being a black child that makes you where your body on mere existence can always be adultified and always be made criminal, which justify you to being targeted or justify you for being, you know what I'm saying, shit, incarcerated. And that's what we see with Nolan Wells. But now just switching it up just a little bit, just, you know what I'm saying? I'm gonna do my best on keeping y'all updated on the Nolan Wells case. There are a lot of amazing content creators that's putting a bunch of time into keeping us updated on what's happening with this case. And I definitely encourage y'all to find you a nice, credible source. You know what I'm saying? I think Dwight Thomas, somebody that's covering this case. Here's Why Kevin is somebody that's covering this case. Of course, you can follow the Ben Crump, attorney Ben Crump page. You know what I'm saying? It's also covering this case. My last thing I'm gonna say about the Nolan Wells at this moment, before I get into Greg Abbott and how he's gaslighting black folks, is that while our community is still figuring out what to do with the child that was killed in, I think, Mississippi, still trying to figure out how to come get Carmelo Anthony a better case, still figuring out how we gonna, fight with these midterms and make sure that our voting power during these midterms don't get taken away, and still make sure our kids get to learn about history that, you know what I'm saying, it since our ancestors, that gives the real, true Buddha history and truth to our ancestors, and not just what the white folks feel like gonna make them feel comfortable. We still have to deal with the daily fear of making sure our kids make it home safely. While Donald Trump is raging hell, and we have different governors, from my governor in Texas to the governor of Mississippi to the governor of Louisiana, also trying to kiss the ring and use black people as political pawns to prove to the white supremacists, hey man, we'll still get down with the get down. The South still can rise, and I will do anything to these niggas politically, socially, economically to prove to y'all that I'm still a descendant of my ancestors, and I'm still willing to make white supremacy proud. That's what we still got to go through while we still trying to figure out on the local levels how particular families in particular cases go unsolved. Now, the same community that will chastise black folks and saying y'all don't want to get with justice because y'all don't do snitching and y'all don't want to cooperate with police will be the same community that will turn a blind eye to obviously Mississippi having this family members, you feel me, use some no snitching politics. If you having them delete they like to me, it's like this. I know I'm saying I'm trying to get out this case, but when I learned that the boys who went on this boat ride with Nolan Wells erased and wiped their social media platform, I knew then that it was something. Shout out to you, Really Robinson. We know Alabama, you know what I mean? When they, I think I read even the family members, the parents of the boys, deleted and wiped their social media platform. Man. Shit don't add up, man. Now switching gears a little bit. I'm finna play this clip of Governor Greg Abbott, and then I'm going to unpackage some things that I'm saying about Governor Greg Abbott. I want to give a disclaimer that I'm going to get very intersectional, talking about different identities of the black community that many black people might cringe to or have paused to, especially because I know so many of y'all have come into the live stream chat because I was speaking poetically about black suffering and how the black body particularly is always being stripped from flesh and being dehumanized. I know that when I talk about anti-black violence and white supremacy and talk about the way that institutional violence happens towards black people, the particular parts of the black community is able to hear that and it resonates. I also know that when I get intersectional and I start talking about other types of black identities, a lot of those people that was resonating with what I was talking about start to fall off and or start to look at me crazy. Now, the same way you understood I was talking to black humanity and doing it with morals and doing it with ethics, I want you to also understand and also give me the patience when I get into what Greg Abbott is doing and what he's saying. And you don't click off. Don't click off. If I make you uncomfortable or you start to experience any discomfort for how I'm talking about the multiplicity of black identity, I want you to really sit with that. And the last thing I'll say in this disclaimer, the same way your stomach turned with the idea of violence and that black child facing it, I want you to also experience that and also feel that when I start talking about the other textures of black existence. You feel me? Get into it. This video I'm about to play right now, I think that it's going to prove that. When black people fight with each other on the internet, non-black people, particularly the ops, the white conservatives, they listen and they pull out their notepad and they take notes. It's clear I'm about to illustrate that when we go at each other's necks and throats, they looking and surveillancing us and watching what's the best jabs and what's the best cuts to go for and which cause the most blood and which cause the most destruction and which cause the biggest impact, and then they repeat them. I'm finna play this clip. And we're gonna get into it. And remember, I'm an educator. So if you experience any discomfort, I want you to sit with that discomfort. And here at the Education's Elevationist platform, we embrace the education or the discomfort of education.
His beliefs about transgender ideology are contrary to where the vast majority of the black community is in Texas and probably across the entire country. And Talarico has a problem with the black community that goes back to the time when there was the divide between Talarico and Desmond Crockett. But also that divide is fundamental ideological because the Black community doesn't support these transgender ideas. The Black community is heavily connected to faith and religion, and they are against all of these ideas about sanctuary city policies and welcoming people coming across the border illegally. They say, what about our community? We've been here all along. Why are you giving free things away to these people crossing the border illegally?
I'm playing one more time.
Here's
This and people are watching. This is Governor Greg Abbott. This clip I'm playing right here is Governor Greg Abbott, and he's repeating all the speaking points that Black people have said amongst each other about the James Tallarico, Jasmine Crockett, as well as repeating all the shit that he's heard about the homophobic, transphobic shit that he just heard that Black folks didn't went for on Twitter, on Facebook, on TikTok, on Instagram. He just repeated the greatest hits. That's what he did. He just repeated the greatest hits of all of the heteronormative, xenophobic, anti-immigrant. That's what he repeated. I'm gonna play it one more time, and then we're gonna unpack some of the things that he said in this and why our headline this video is saying Governor Greg Abbott is gaslighting Black folks. Let's just play this clip one more time, though.
His beliefs about transgender ideology are contrary to where the vast majority of the Black community is in Texas and probably across the entire country. Tallarico has a problem with the Black community that goes back to the time when there was a divide between Tallarico and Jasmine Crockett. But also that divide is fundamental ideological because the Black community doesn't support these transgender ideas. The Black community is heavily connected to faith and religion, and they are against all.
Greg Abbott, I need you and your conservative clowns to make your mind up. Now, are these liberals, are they fighting for the justice of trans people, or are you saying that they like which one? Because right now, to me, it sounds as if you're trying to say that the Black community in its totality or in general just don't like trans people. I think that maybe that could be true. You see what I'm saying? But I also know that when it comes to you being a Texas governor, that you're the governor to Black trans women as well. And I know that there was a report, I think in 2022, 2021, that showed that Texas was leading the murder, leading the country in murders of Black trans women. So when you start talking about how the Black community, this, that, and the other, are you not talking Black trans women? Obviously, ain't in there, are they? We also know when you start talking about ideology that there are a bunch of different policies that you pass that outlawed us being able to teach about Black history while also making it sure that we learn about the Israeli-Hamas conflict. You don't want to call it genocide. We also know that when it comes to the curriculum of Texas history, that you don't like for any educator to teach children, specifically in that 7th grade curriculum, that Stephen F. Austin and Davy Crockett were slave masters. And the only reason why they wanted to fight against General Santa Anna is because they felt that their livelihoods in the plantation was being threatened. We also know, Greg Abbott, because you kept on, because in this clip you talk about what Black folks want and how James Tallarico ain't good with Black people. What I know is that your opponent, Gina Hinojosa, she ranking having a higher approval amongst Black folks than you are. So I think that you should have a debate with her and y'all can really talk about who's better for the Black community, since you know now and since you acknowledging what's happening in the Black community. What I do know is that when you take away the school vouchers, you know, I know that when you gave school vouchers and you took funding and you circumvented funding from public education schools and you gave it to private school kids, that disproportionately impacted the Black kids that's in private school, that's in public schools, and it disproportionately positively impacted the white kids that's in private schools, making it way to take funds from them. So I find it funny now that you're able to talk about what Black folks want and don't Black folks just, don't want. What I also find funny too is that, do you think Ken Paxton is better for Black people than James Tallarico? Do you think that? The reason why I say this clip is illustrating that this man is gaslighting is because they know how to play up on oppressive tropes to try to get Black folks to, tap in. And it's just crazy. Say Lena T said it right here. Bruh, he literally took the speaking points from Diaspora Wars, the identity politics of FBA, and Christian nationalism in the black community, and then he regurgitated them on Fox News. That's what he did. That is what Greg Abbott did. I want to play the video just one more time. Just one more time. They're gonna get into some more statistics.
His beliefs about transgender ideology are contrary to where the vast majority of the black community is in Texas and probably across the entire country. Puerto Rico has a problem with the black community that goes back.
When did Greg Abbott start caring about what the vast majority of black folks want and care about? When? I really would like to know.
The time when there was a divide between Puerto Rico and Democrat, but also that divide is fundamental ideological because the black community doesn't support these transgender ideas, and the black community is heavily connected to faith and religion, and they are against.
Now, for my followers and my watchers that's really familiar with my content, y'all know I always talk about the alt-right pipeline and how they use Christian doctrines to hoodwink and bamboozle a lot of black folks into champion white Christian nationalism that is anti-black at the core. What he just did right there, what Greg Abbott just did, is I'm talking about he's showing me how good AI works. You scrape the internet of data and you find the shit that you like and you repeat it and you post it. That's what Greg Abbott doing right here. This is why I'm of so much concern when it comes to Christian nationalism, and specifically when it comes to demonizing transgender and drag queens, and how a bunch of black folks was hoodwinked and bamboozled into champion mass deportation, the Project 2025, Trump administration, all in the name of saying I don't want men to be in women's sports, all in the name of saying I don't want drag queens reading to my kids. Greg Abbott can acknowledge and say that black people believe that Democrats are bringing in immigrants to the country to steal jobs from black folks and then do what? Bring in data centers and then give incentives to industries that employ black people to use us, abuse us, to underpay us. This is what I mean by gaslighting. On one instance, you can say that the majority of black folks don't want X, Y, and Z. On the other instance, you can do the exact opposite of what majority of black folks want in the great state of Texas.
All of those ideas about sanctuary city policies and welcoming people from coming across the border illegally, they say, what about our community? We've been here all.
Right now, the Houston Independent School District has been hijacked because Greg Abbott and the conservative gangsters that run in his cabinet figured out a way to strip autonomy from the elected officials that was running Houston Independent School District. Black folks didn't want that. He didn't care. He doesn't care. He don't care. As a matter of fact, Greg Abbott, can you stop running from Gina and just debate her? Right now, Gina has an approval rating amongst black folks that you have never, ever experienced and will never experience in your whole governed era. So debate her. Cause I think that you could learn a couple of things maybe from what black folks want, because she obviously knows a lot more than you. And I think that black folks, based off the data, illustrates that.
Well, why are you giving free things away to these people crossing the border illegally?
Why are you giving free things to people? It's something that we're going to sit with for a minute. Right now, there are a bunch of tech companies that are running to Texas because Greg Abbott is giving them free shit. Right now, there are a lot of data centers that are threatening the farmland, threatening the trailer park, threatening the hood, threatening all different types of communities because you want to give free shit to data centers. When I say gaslighting, I'm doing my best to illustrate what I mean by that, because on one instance, you can demonize this action, and on the other instance, you can give political incentives to make sure this action happens. So when it comes to these corporate billionaire giants crossing the border to get free shit, at the expense of Texas taxpayers. You're supposed to turn black out of that, turn a blind out of that. But even though Texas Republicans been running this state for over 30 years. And they still fix their mouth to blame problems in this state on Democrats who ain't had no power in this state and I don't know how long. Over 30 years. Say, but hold on though. Sherry said something. I caught your comment, Sherry. See what you say right here. I wanna made a comment about the bean crump. I want to put it on the screen. And I'm gonna read this comment, y'all, and then go back to talking about Greg Abbott, Texas politics, Texas education. Sherry said, Crump is not a medical examiner, nor an expert on autopsy protocol. The legal team did what they were able to by securing an independent autopsy. He nor any attorney would be able to determine or recognize that something is missing. Even the medical examiner said it was common for some organs or tissues to be held for further examination. It is very probable that the Mississippi medical examiner could be trying to stall or skew evidence, but it's not Crump's fault or a mistake that it wasn't transferred. Scary said, hey, Lee, please read the Crimson record if you want to and how many of us have been lynched historically. Yeah, Alabama do got that issue. Jessica Williams said, absolutely not. Greg Abbott is embedded in anyone except racism. What I think is that for him to be able to talk about what Black people desire shows us that he has the capacity to see it on his radar. So the fact that when it comes to policies and legislation, he has the ability to always take a lot from us while giving a little bit shows us that it's like willful ignorance. And it shows us that when he goes on things on the contrary, that he does have the knowledge and he does have the skills to figure out what is the temperature of the Black community in my country, in my state of Texas, and what do they want? He able to say we don't want transgender people. Can you give us some funding for education? Do y'all know that I fought with a whole bunch of people during the election about Israel-Palestine? And I talked about it, asked me, why should we give a damn about Israel-Palestine? And I live in Texas. I don't give a damn about what's happening with Israel-Palestine. I only care about what's happening in Texas. And then I bring up shit like Governor Greg Abbott, making it where the city of I can't think of the city name right now. Where is Texas? Texas State is in. Can't think. Somebody help me out in the chat. Help me out in the chat, man. City tried to take funds that they were given to Israel and put it back into their county, put it back into their city. Greg Abbott, I'm sitting in front of the computer. Greg Abbott threatens city funds Israel. San Marcos, man. Governor Greg Abbott threatened to pull state grant funding from the city of San Marcos in April of 2025 over a proposed city council resolution regarding the Israel-Hamas war. Abbott sent a letter to the mayor, Jane Houston, warning that the resolution, which called for a ceasefire and an arms embargo on Israel, voted in 2017 state law banning government entities from boycotting or divesting from Israel. Now, one has to ask themselves, why in the hell would the city of San Marcos have to make sure they give funds to a foreign entity when they need their funds to pave the streets in the city of San Marcos? A bunch of Black people said when I was criticizing and being critical about how genocide was taking away funds from Black community in 2024, I was told that we should not give a damn about what was happening over in the pond and we should focus on ourselves first. That's what I was told. Our state tells us there are a bunch of problems that we have that they don't have the funding for, but they can send over $1 billion annually to Israel. Governor Greg Abbott knows what the Black community wants when it comes to pushing the political agenda for his partner, Ken Paxton, and making sure he get that senator seat away from James Tallarico. He understands how to structure and manipulate what the Black community want to get the end result that he wants. But he can't do the same for us. Can't do the same for us. Willful ignorance, right? So When President Donald Trump called down to Texas and he said, hey, my fellow Anglo-Texans, I need to ensure that I'm not going to get massacred during this midterm election. I need y'all to steal some political power away from black folks. Can you do it? Did Greg Abbott care about what the majority of black folks wanted then? I don't think so. So how is it now he could structure and frame a point about what the majority of black folks want when it comes to something about what James Tallarico was doing? Now, let me be clear this. James Tallarico ain't perfect at all. And there are a few bones I would love to pick with James Tallarico. But if I'm making a comparative analysis and doing an impact calculus on what politically, socially, economically is better for the black community, I know there are certain things that James Tallarico can do and is doing that just fundamentally outweighs anything that you can functionally even promise me the Republic can do for black folks here in Texas. I know it. It's a little quick point to our mind too, man. So in the clip that I'm showing y'all, Greg Abbott is sensationalizing without saying he's talking about criminality without talking about criminality and talking about immigrants and talking about the border. But he don't give a damn about the law when it comes to Ken Paxton. He don't give a damn about the law when it comes to Donald Trump. This right here is political gaslighting. I don't care about the law when it comes to my political comrades doing things that are unlawful. But any potential of them immigrants or them Negroes doing something illegal, lock them up, justify shooting or killing them. This is showing y'all, and this is illustrating a non-equal protection under law. It's illustrating. Hey, Christian Crispy. I'm saying Anglo-Texans being facetious, but I want to point this out, though. That terminology was used specifically when the state of Texas went and redrawn those maps. Now, I know a lot of us are talking about Louisiana versus Calais, and talking about, what the Supreme Court was able to rule when it comes to talking about congressional maps. But remember, Trump called down to Texas first. I had the opportunity of going to the Texas Capitol, Austin, and hearing what the Republican senators and Republican politicians were saying in defense of Donald Trump saying that I need to take political power away from black Texans. And they used terminology of Anglo-Texans. I'm talking about in the state, in the state, you feel me? In the state capitol. One of the most politically, one of the most politically, who's here? Politically sanctified places in this country or in the state. They use the terminology Anglo-Texans. So if you find it weird that I use the word Anglo-Texans during a social media live stream, think about how weird I thought the uses of Anglo-Texans being used at a Texas hearing with senators talking about we have to make sure we instill power for Anglo-Texans. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, Clay Edwards. Yeah, Clay Edwards by saying this. I'm gonna type this in and see. Anglo-Texans congressional power. Anglo-Texas. This right here is coming from. I'm gonna find the actual source. Y'all know AI didn't popped up. Let's see. We're gonna look together, y'all. Look together. Y'all know AI be hijacking some things. Let's see. I want to show, like, nah, man, these people actually use the terminology. Anglo-Texas. I want to read a couple of lines showing y'all these folks really was talking about. Let's see right here. The case turns. Let's see out there. This is the Texas Tribune headline: Can Texas use this new congressional map for 2026? A trio of judges will decide. I'm gonna read these two paragraphs right here. All of this, every part of this, is about the clock right now, said Justin Levitt, a voting rights expert from Loyola Law School. The plaintiffs want an answer as soon as possible. Texas wants to stall like crazy. All of this is all about what's going on to court to deliver an answer before the next election. The case turns on a familiar argument, with plaintiffs arguing in one motion for a preliminary injunction. If the districts are allowed to stand, Latino and Black Texans will irreparably be harmed, deprived of their right to exercise their voting rights on equal terms with Anglo-Texans. As within the 2021 map, the state is rebutting those claims by contending the maps are drawn race blind. Their court filings also embrace the Supreme Court 2019 rulings that the court cannot intervene to stop partisan gerrymandering as long as the maps in question abides by the constitutional maps. When I went to Austin and had the opportunity to hear how the elected officials were talking about race and specifically about congressional power, it made my jaw drop to hear how racially illiterate yet racially charged the conversation was. It also blew my mind to hear the statistics about how white Texans are outnumbered by Black and Latino Texans, but they are able to manipulate the maps to ensure that white Texans always be politically represented. Now, me saying all this in communication or in conversation with Greg Abbott talking about what Black folks want, it's like, what? When did you start caring about what Black folks want? I encourage y'all. I just had I had the opportunity of doing an interview with Gina Hinojosa, and we talked specifically about some of the things that Greg Abbott is doing, man. As a matter of fact, I'm gonna play y'all a little clip. I'll get up out of here. Let's see if I can find this clip, man. Let's see if I can find this clip. And let me know in the comment section what y'all thoughts is, man. Well, you know what I mean? Spend these last few minutes engaged in the comment section, as well as showing y'all this interview clip that I have. Oh yeah, the interview with Gina is done. I'm gonna play you a little clip so y'all can see it, man. The interview is available right now on Substack and on YouTube. But y'all a little clip, man. Feel like it was a great interview. I want to win. Advocate for you. I ain't much more the radical. You know what I'm saying? I'm a little more further left. You know, I'm not going I want you to win. Advocate for you. When you win, though, you don't have to worry about me being so critical. It's a good thing. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather you put my magnifying glass on you than put my magnifying glass on Greg. You want to stare you to your eyes and in your face. So you don't feel like, man, this guy is sitting up on me. Politically, socially, economically, I will be invested in what you're doing to ensure something being done. I want you to feel like it's some bad groups, you just cool doing this stuff. I want to make sure I'm telling you where it ain't no switch up at all. And then like the last thing, My bad, Christy. You said the audio is crunchy. Apologies. I'll be posting that clip, to my social media platform. I definitely got to get Tyler Rico in the interview as well. Shout out to you as well. That Shinri can't understand. Apologies for the quality of the audio. I thought the quality that the audio would I thought the clip would run good. Apparently the clip didn't go good. That was me being politically correct and telling Gina, what I want to tell is like, listen, when you win politically, socially, economically, I'm on your ass. And when I'm on your ass, I don't want you to feel like you're being ambushed. I don't want you to feel like this guy to switch shit up on me. I'm going to be so critical on what you're doing for black people and what you're doing for Texas in general that you're going to feel like I'm one of your ops. That's a good thing. It's really what I want to tell her, but I feel like, man, don't start cussing at this woman, man. You just met her. You see what I'm saying? But we definitely talked about, Texas education. And the last thing I say is this right here, because it was a point in the interview where I think it was a little tension. I think that I tried my best to speak to it, is that I was asking her questions about the absence of black Texans being in a Texas curriculum for 7th grade. People that's not in Texas, when you go through Texas curriculum in our state in 7th grade, we all are forced to learn state history. It's usually taught by a football coach or a basketball coach or a track coach, some shit like that. But in the state of Texas, in order for you to pass 7th grade, you have to go through Texas history. In the interview, I'm telling her how awkward and weird it is that when you go through 7th grade history, you don't hear nothing about black people at all. And then you learn about Juneteenth and Texas being the birthplace of Juneteenth and how it's just a lot of context that's missing. In this, she started telling me about, the Blue Bonnet deal and something about Trump. And I'm thinking like, hey, listen, man, I was in 7th grade before Trump was in office. When I was in 7th grade, Greg Abbott wasn't in office. There was still an absence of black folks inside of the curriculum. I'm giving you a structural problem, and you're trying to talk this problem into bipartisan politics. You're not hearing me. I wanted to, when I responded, because I know it's easy for black people to come off as being aggressive. I know it's easy for me as a black man to come off a particular way. So I didn't want to come off as combative, but I wanted to show like, hey, listen, the way you just responded to what I just said, let me know you have misdiagnosed the problem. And I'm giving you a structural problem about how black education has always been something that's been marginalized, regardless of who's the governor and regardless of who's the president. What I'm asking you is how you as the governor will be able to change this shit, regardless of what you able to say about the other side and what they did and what they didn't do. And you know what I'm saying? It was a great interview. I'm looking forward to interviewing her again. I tried to get her to promise me another interview when we get closer to, doing the election. You know what I'm saying? Definitely was able to do that. Yeah, shout out to you, Reba. Thank you for liking that Black Panther picture. What I'll say in closing is that I'm still doing my best on being more consistent and being on time. So I apologize. I didn't start at promptly 10:30 a.m. Central today on this Wednesday. But shout out to everybody that sent me emails and DMs and comments about looking forward to me doing Education and Celebration on Wednesday mornings. And shout out to everybody that's told me what you thought about the music video / theme song. What I say is that we should all be making sure that we pay attention to what's happening in our community as much as we keep up with trends like Quiet on the Creek. I encourage all of us to stay vigilant when it comes to this Nolan Wells case and really get locked in for midterms. There are some, and I want to be clear before I say this, I'm not blaming the black folks in Mississippi for what happened at all. But I will say, that midterm elections are important because we get to vote people in or elect people that impact how we get justice. Guaranteed, there are some positions that was able to see this Nolan Wells case on the state level and on the city level. They are in a elected position that was able to have a disregard for justice and for black life when it comes to Nolan Wells. We should keep that in mind when it comes to midterm elections. We should also keep in mind that what Donald Trump will be able to do for his final 2 years in his presidency will be dictated by far and large the results of the midterm election. So all the different tactics to intimidate us, to discourage us, to make us feel like we don't have a chance, to make us feel like more important things is going on, is all to make sure that Donald Trump gets to keep on acting like the tyrannical man-child that he is for the rest of his presidency. Everything is political. We had a case of shitty diarrhea happening because of lettuce. And because we don't have infrastructure that is able to have oversight and making sure that we test industries and making sure that they ensure that consumers are able to have our health prioritized and not them prioritizing profits. You see it. We see it. We see these gas prices. Everything is political, man. Education is elevation. Go check out the theme song. Let me know what part of the song y'all think should be the intro and outro. And I'll holler at y'all.
We told them white people hear us, but they weren't listening. Dropping gems with some depth, trying to dig in. Elevating to another level, you should get in. I got my tie on with my cardigan. Yeah, they say he mean business. Oh, you know I'm